everyone, and welcome back to the Empowered Up podcast. Every episode, I give you an inside look into what happens here at Trinity Hall and the people who make it happen. My name is Chloe Toole. I'm the communications manager here at Trinity Hall, and I'm also an alumna from the class of 2017, Trinity Hall's first ever graduating class. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming our head of school, Theresa Kiernan, on the podcast. Hi, Theresa. How are you?
Hello, Chloe.
Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Yay, I'm so excited. So Theresa has been with Trinity Hall since the early days, starting out on early founding committees. Theresa volunteered at Trinity Hall before becoming the Director of Advancement and Admissions.
Yep.
Theresa served in this position for the past decade before becoming our interim head of school in July and then officially becoming our head of school in January.
Yes.
All of that said, I thought, Theresa, you could take us back to the beginning and talk about your background and then what led you to coming to Trinity Hall.
Sure. So thank you for having me on your podcast,
Of
Chloe.
course.
I'm very excited about this. So many years ago, I heard about a group of people that were going forward to create a school for girls. And before that, I grew up in Middletown. I'm from this area, and I was the type of student who would have really done well at an all-girls school. And so when I heard that there was a group of people who were starting this school, I was just about to start grad school. My younger daughter was getting ready. She was in pre-K, and she was getting ready to go to pre-K. So I had more time. My kids were little, but I had more time. And I started volunteering with them. And together with Mairead Clifford and with Allison Wagner, who was one of our founding board members, I sat at Allison's dining room table, and we created the Facebook account, we created the Instagram account, and we just kind of built our social media stuff from there. And it got to a point where I was really helping out a lot with the outward facing stuff for those in those early days, because our founders and our founding board, they were busy looking for a head of school and working on other things, the business of the school. So I was kind of helping with that. And so finally, I finished half of my grad school program. I acquired a certificate in professional and technical communication. So that was like the first half of my grad school experience. And my younger daughter was going into kindergarten now. And so I figured this is the perfect time for me to enter the workforce, and I asked Mairead Clifford to please if she would give me a recommendation for, a professional recommendation, because I had been out of the workforce now for a couple of years, and jumping back in for women, after you've taken some time off to raise your kids, it's not always easy. Mm-hmm. So I asked Mairead to give me a professional recommendation, and she said, "Oh, no, I'm not going to give you a professional recommendation. I want you to work for us." And she said, "Let me have you talk to Mary Scarillo." And so I said, okay, Mary Scarillo being the founding head of our school and the person that they had just recently hired. And if you know Mary, many of us have this story. You don't, but I do. And that is that Mary sat down with me at that meeting, and the first thing she says to me was, "I don't have a job for you. I'm not going to hire you." So I was a little discouraged, mm-hmm. But somehow I don't know what I did, but in the course of that meeting, and I blacked out. I can't even remember how long the meeting was. During the course of that meeting, I convinced her that she needed to hire me, and she hired me as the Director of Advancement. And as I was getting up, she threw in, "Oh, and you'll do admissions too." I said, "Great, how hard could that be?" So so that got tagged onto my title. So I was, from that point on, I was the Director of Advancement and Admissions, and I carried that title for many, many years until July of 2023.
Wow. And just to add that your youngest, who was in kindergarten at the time, is now a senior here.
Yes.
So
yes,
that's just crazy.
Yes.
Crazy to think of it as a timing.
I know.
Thing.
I think the important thing, what that reminds me, is that Trinity Hall has been a very big part of my life, mm-hmm. but it's also been a very big part of my family's life.
Yes.
So we've all kind of experienced Trinity Hall together as a family, and it's very meaningful.
Mm-hmm. So as you were talking about being with Allison Wagner, starting the Facebook page, starting the Instagram. I would say one of your biggest accomplishments in your role as Director of Advancement and Admissions was really establishing and elevating the Trinity Hall brand through social media, advertising. Why was it so important to do that as we were starting out and as we were growing as a school?
So anytime you have a new business and you want people to sit up and pay attention, you need to have a vision of who you are. You need to have a perspective. You need to kind of tell people what they should expect about your business, your brand, whatever. And for us, especially in those early days when we had no students, that was a real challenge. Our very first ad was actually just stock footage. It was a very cute girl that was in a uniform. She had a tie on, and the tie was actually, I think it was like red and black or something, and she had a blazer, but it looked similar enough to our formal uniforms so that were being planned. They had been selected and we knew what they were going to look like. So we changed the colors of that uniform, and the girl, she looked like really wholesome. She had her hair kind of back in a ponytail. She looked, like a nice young woman, and very strange. This is kind of a side note. Okay. We got some criticism for that picture because people thought, "Oh, are you trying to make a girl look like a boy?" I mean,
That's so random.
It was so strange, but it was just, she looked like a really nice high school girl, very similar to the students that we had that were interested in Trinity Hall. But in any case, those kinds of things were definitely a work in progress, much easier to do once we had students. And I vividly remember the first time I met you was when we finally had students and you were incoming. It was the summer before your freshman year, and we had actual real life Trinity Hall students for the first time, and we had a little photo shoot, and we took your pictures, and you had various degrees of uniform. I don't know, but that was a fun summer day. I remember that, and because that was really exciting, because for the first time we had the girls that were going to tell the story of Trinity Hall. So once we had that kind of stuff, once we had the sports were in, we had the girls in the classrooms, we had graduates. Forget it, when we had the graduates, that was really exciting. But once we had those things, it made it a lot easier to reflect that in our branding. But I think that so much of the branding and the social media is just telling the story of Trinity Hall. Everybody loves a good story. Yeah. And that's really what, anytime I got out in front of anyone, that's really what we were trying to do. So that was an extension of what we were trying to do with our social media, with our website, with our ads. It's just to kind of continue the story of Trinity Hall. Yeah. And I mean, when we were here, thinking back on what you did with the Instagram and the Facebook back in our early days, I feel like people are just now kind of understanding why social media is so important in the education space, and it was just so easy, so effortless to just, get in there and snap pictures of us, especially because we were just kind of like hams and we loved to be in front of the camera. But it was just very kind of at the forefront of what social media brought to the education world. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you thought that it was easy. As you're doing it now. You made it look easy back then. It wasn't easy. Nothing we did was easy, Chloe. It was all hard. Yeah. I think a lot of what we did, too, was that it looked very authentic. Yes. And I think that's what you're responding to, is that it when you probably look at the pictures from those early days, you're like, oh, yeah, this is a really good reflection of what I remember from high school. You have to think about the story that you want to tell, and how you want that to be reflected to the world. And obviously social media, especially for young kids now, it's with personal accounts, it's very curated. Right? But I think that our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook, those really did reflect a lot of highlights about the best of Trinity Hall. Yeah. Because there was so much good that we did every day. Yeah, and it serves as a little archive. Oh, I love flipping all the way back. Me too. When we had, 50 likes on our early pictures. Yeah, sometimes it's like 11 likes on those early ones. I love it. They were much lower. Yes. Yes, but that's okay. That's what happens when you build.
Exactly. So speaking of stories,
Yeah.
as many of our viewers know, Trinity Hall Origins is a documentary that we created together about the founding of Trinity Hall. And it was an idea that you had for a very long time to create a documentary. And like you said, you were taking pictures and saving articles and any sort of media that you could get your hands on from those early days. You were saving it for the hope to make a documentary in the future. And so even though you were there for a majority of what we showed in the documentary, was there anything during that time that we were interviewing the founding head of school, that surprised you about the founding of Trinity Hall?
Yeah, there were a bunch of stories that were not even included in the documentary. I think that surprised us when we heard about it. And I think that when you take that kind of story that was over the span of so many years and included so many people and was so much effort, and you kind of condense it and to put it into this, it's a pretty short documentary. I guess just the sheer effort and overcoming so much, it really is, when you hear the story, you think, wow, that is something else. That is some accomplishment from our founders and our founding group and our founding students. Wow, that is really an incredible accomplishment. And I think also when I listen to the stories, the accounts from our founders and from Mary, our founding head of school, no surprise, I'm a feminist, right? I'm the head of an all-girls school. I'm a feminist. And I was surprised to see the moments of sexism that are so blatant all along that story. That was a surprise to me in the early aughts and the teens of the century, is that even now, and that was really brought to me a very stark understanding of how important it is to actually have an all-girls school. Because so many of those things that happened still happen. Yeah. And that's why it's important to have an all-girls school.
Yeah. And I think that really became a theme, like, within the documentary, based on what they were saying, but also, like, all those articles that you saved, like, and we used. Yeah. It kind of was an underlying theme. Like, can they actually do it? Yeah. Or, like, can these girls actually win a soccer game?
Yeah. It's there in black and white.
It is. It's in the records.
It's outrageous.
It was definitely a surprising theme that really came through.
Yeah, it was definitely something that, it was jarring to me when I sat and I watched that, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of instances. And yet, here we are. Yeah. Here we are.
Despite it. So what was your favorite part of making the documentary?
One of my absolute favorite parts was working with you on it. I think that it really was very enriching for me to work on it with you, just as a colleague and as a co-creator. That was really very meaningful to me. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. So thank you.
Of course.
I loved the process of it, and see, I'm on the other side of my career. Not that I'm at the end of my career. I'm not that old, but I'm not at the beginning of my career. And I think for you, as in the beginning of your career, I think it's an incredible accomplishment. And for me, I turned 50, and then I became the head of school, and then I started a master's program at an Ivy League institution. And then I made a movie. Yeah. I'm not a filmmaker. And now our film is going to be in the Garden State Film Festival. So for me, and again, as a feminist, don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do.
Exactly. You're not done.
No.
At all.
No. This might be the last film I make. I don't know.
One and done, maybe.
One and done, I think. And I'd be happy with that because I'm really proud of the way it came out. But I do think that my favorite thing is just having done it. Yeah. To have for so long, to collect all these pictures and collect, those copies of those mean tweets and video and, all of the archival stuff that exists only in my mind
and
in your mind and the people who are there to be able to share that story. Again, it was such a big part of the my life and my family's life, and to put it up there and kind of assemble it, put it all together. I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Just having maybe it wasn't fun to do it.
It was.
It was in parts. It was, I mean,
it was
scary.
A huge undertaking.
Yes. But I love having done it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see where it goes. Like, obviously we have the film festival coming up, which is very exciting.
Very exciting.
But just to be able to use it and show it for years to come to our like incoming students, to incoming teachers, and just know that it at least tells the story of the founding.
Yeah.
Because we're still making our history, but...
Always, every day here with every new girl. It's very important to me that it's a first-hand account, too, as a historical document.
Yes.
We, our founding head of school retired. Our founding assistant head of school moved on. James Palmieri, he's moved on to another position somewhere else. And Allison Wagner passed away. And so before we lost too many voices to the story, because I'm not going to be here forever. I'm sorry to tell you. I won't be here forever. So I think it's important for those stories to be told before they're lost. It's very, for something to be that important and that monumental, that's how the school was created, and to have it have this ephemeral quality that it's not going to be held on to.
Yeah.
Is scary to me. So I'm really happy that for the school, for the institution, that we have that kind of a historic document.
Me too. So, like we talked about with social media, with your idea to make the documentary, you accomplished a lot as the director of advancement and admissions. But I kind of want to know how your role as the director of advancement and admissions has really helped you become the head of school.
There's a lot of transferable skills, obviously. It's a very stressful thing for a parent to, and their student, to make a choice to come to a school in which you're paying tuition. We are surrounded by wonderful public schools that cost nothing but your tax dollars, and so it's a big financial commitment. So I think understanding the value of what we do here at Trinity Hall, to understand the ins and outs and what goes into our academic program, what goes into our athletics program. I had to have an overview of all of that to explain it to our families that were applying, coming in. And that is absolutely critical for me to have, a really good view of what's happening in the school. So that was really important. I think I have I love to talk to people. And I think that for me, relationships are of utmost importance. So creating relationships is really important. That's definitely something that's really important as a head of school. And that was something that I had to do. I had to establish rapport pretty quickly. I had to have some tough conversations with people when their student maybe didn't get the result that they wanted through admissions. And all of those skills are easily transferable. And then just understanding how enrollment affects your operating expenses and revenue streams, and how that keeps the lights on here. So that's important too. It's just the basics of running a business.
Yeah,
there's a lot that I am learning.
Yes,
as I go, but I had a pretty good head start. Also, just having the institutional knowledge, which was priceless.
Yeah, being a founding faculty member, you really know a lot from the beginning.
Yes, I just having been here. Just by benefit of being here for so long, you know a lot about the institution, and that is something that gave me a huge head start. And even just having the relationships that a head needs to have with their board of trustees. I know everyone on the board and have good relationships with them. I know the teachers here. I know the faculty. I've met almost all the students as they come in. So that familiarity really helped me because I put in the time to work on those relationships already.
And I feel like with the advancement piece, you constantly had to kind of think about what's next for the school. How do we be innovative to show the next coolest thing that we're doing here? So I feel like that piece too of like kind of having the foresight to look towards the future is really helpful too.
Yeah, the advancement piece is interesting because it's really just you're the director of advancing the mission of the school. And so how do you get that story out? How are you advancing the mission of the school in a public way? Because internally, obviously, the teachers are doing the work to educate and empower our girls, and the board is doing the work to sustain the school. And how do we continue to advance the mission of the school so that people really want to donate, they want to write articles about us, they want to enroll their students. So all of that comes through good communication and really having a good sense of what our mission is. And I am very mission focused.
And we're so happy to have you. I mean, we're so happy to have you as the head of school.
Thanks, Chloe.
You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
If I could say so myself. I mean,
Thank you,
I'm not an
Chloe.
expert, but
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it because you never know when you might change your mind.
No, never. One of your main themes since becoming the head of school has been kindness. That's something that you talk about a lot to the girls in community meetings. What was your inspiration for this message, and what do you hope our girls take away from it?
Kindness costs nothing. Kindness costs absolutely nothing. And I think that sometimes people think that when they meet someone who's exceptionally kind, they're born that way. Kindness is something that you can practice at any time. And to be intentional about it, it's very easy to be unintentionally cruel. Happens all the time. You have a friend who says something offhand, it hurts you. Somebody says, something that you overhear, it hurts you. And I think it's very easy, and that happens to all of us, and we've done it to other people. So it's very easy to be unintentionally cruel. So when you can be intentionally kind, I think that's really important to get into the practice of. No one's ever perfect at it, and you can always do better. So I think, and there's power in it. There's a lot of power in being kind because it keeps you consistent, and people know that they can depend on you. So I think that there's an important power to being kind. And I think that for what I really want the girls to understand, and sometimes this might be misunderstood, but too often women, and especially young women, confuse kindness with being nice. And when you're just trying to be nice, you constantly are giving something up that maybe you don't want to give up, or that you shouldn't give up. Maybe your friend has asked you for your homework and you don't want to give it to them because you could get in trouble, or you just feel like that's not something that you should be doing, but you want to be nice, you don't want them to get mad, so it feels wrong to you, but you do it anyway. Or maybe, I don't know, somebody asked you to the prom and you don't really want to go with them for whatever reason, but you don't want to be mean. You feel like you have to be nice. You feel like you have to do it. I think young women especially, and especially early in your career, you get taken advantage of because you're trying to be nice, you're trying to be agreeable, and that's not always the way you should act. And I want our girls to be empowered to know the difference between being nice and being kind. That doesn't mean you should be rude or impolite or disrespectful. That's not it at all. But I want them to understand that there is power in being kind, and they do not have to be nice. Because being nice is an empty feeling. Being kind is what's important.
Yeah. Being kind comes from the inside.
It comes from the inside. My mom, she's been gone now for 4 years, but she was the kindest person I've met ever in my life. And she was not very nice. I don't think anybody would have said Janice McKenna, wow, yeah, she's the nicest person I know. She was not. Yeah. She was not, but she was incredibly kind and very generous. And that's okay. You can be kind, and I'm not saying that you should not. Your goal should to be not nice.
Yeah.
But there's a difference.
Yeah.
And that's what I want the girls to understand.
Yeah, it's a very powerful message, and it's coming straight from you as the head of school. I feel like it's really kind of reaching everyone, as you can see by you wear shirts that say kindness or be kind. Yeah. It also sparked some of our faculty have started to wear them. Yeah. And also I think you said that one of the students actually brought you in a sweatshirt that said
Yes.
kindness on it.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
She did. Shanley, she brought me a sweatshirt that said kindness. It was so nice.
So I feel like it's really hitting them. Like, you really are understanding it.
It's, as messages go, being kind is something that I think a lot of people can get behind.
That's very true.
I'm glad they're kind of picking up the message on that.
Yeah. So looking towards the future and being the head of school, what are you most excited for?
I'm really excited about, I try not to rush the time, but I'm really excited about getting through an entire year and knowing what to expect. I've had a couple of people ask me, are you having fun? And I said to them, if somebody gets shot out of a cannon, right, and you stopped in midair and said, hey, are you having fun? You're laughing. You understand what I'm saying. Like, maybe not in that moment, they're not having fun. Maybe they're scared. Maybe they don't know what to expect next. Maybe they just can't wait to get on the ground.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel.
Okay.
This is my rookie year. I feel like I've been shot out of a cannon.
And the next time you're shot out of a cannon, then you'll be having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the next time it might, like, if I'm going to do it a second time, I'll be like, hey, yeah, that was fun the first time. Let's do it again. So I think that I'm looking forward to having a little bit of ground behind me. Not that I think that the nature of this job is just to never know what to expect. But I am looking forward to having at least a year under my belt that I feel like, okay, let's do this again. Because, this has been, it's a really hard job. It's all encompassing. It's all hours of the day. You have to hold so many things in your brain, and it's a real challenge. So I'm looking forward to getting better at this job, because growth is uncomfortable, and right now I'm very uncomfortable.
But every year comes with its, you'll get more
Discomfort?
comfortable. Yeah. But also with its exciting moments.
Oh,
and just taking those as they come too.
Yeah, this place is, of course it's fun. Of course it's fun. Of course I'm having fun. When I walk down the hall and the kids say, hey, Mrs. Kiernan, or, they invite me into their classrooms, or they're so proud of the stuff that they're doing. Every day with the girls is fun. It's great to have them, step into my office and say, "Ooh, I like your couches." That kind of stuff is fun. I really enjoy the spirit of collaboration we have here. That's wonderful. It's just, we have some of the smartest people, a collection of some of the smartest, hardest working, most innovative people here. You have to be on your A game. So I try my best every day. And I'm looking forward to seeing how far we can go, and like what's the next thing, and what's the new innovative thing. What are our graduates going to be doing? Because our graduates are reaching and going so far, and I love seeing where they're going. I love seeing where the girls go to college. I love seeing our colleagues do exciting things like, go to conferences and present. And I have a feeling we'll have, in the future we'll have some conferences here on campus. I'm looking forward to the future growth of the school. Not that we need to grow in number of students, but just having bigger facilities for the students and our teachers to collaborate in and to work in. And I think that space right now is a big challenge. And once we have more space, forget it. We're going to just keep blowing the lid off. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's great. So I have one last question for you. Okay. And this is a question I ask everyone.
Yep.
But what advice or inspiration can you share with our students and our viewers?
Oh, so I'm not fond of giving advice. But I would say, kind of going back to what we said, like maybe midway through, like no one is finished.
Yeah.
No one is finished in there. If you still have breath in your lungs, if you are still getting around, no one is finished. And everyone has an incredible amount of potential, especially the students here. And even if you are someone who is much older than the students, you still have so much potential. And I think that I get inspired by, I never would have gone to Columbia if I wasn't here. And I often think about where I would be if I had the benefit of going to an all-girls school. For a long time I thought, wow, I could have gone anywhere. But I feel like having been here for so long, this was my education. So I've been a student here, and I've gained the advantage of being in an all-girls school, and to be at a place that values the experience of girls and women and young women, and that has really affected me and informed my life. So I feel like I have gotten a Trinity Hall education, for sure. So nobody's done, Chloe.
Yeah.
Let's see where you go. Can't wait to see where you go.
Thank you. And that was really amazing. I love that, because I know that's something you talk about a lot, is like how your life could have been different if you went to an all-girls school. Mm-hmm. But you've been here along the way.
Yeah.
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 I've
been here the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like Dorothy.
I love it.
Yeah, I've been home the whole time.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining us, Theresa. It was so great having you. A pleasure to have you on the podcast. And thank you for sharing all about your journey at Trinity Hall.
Thank you for having me, Chloe.
Of
been
course.
a pleasure.
Yay. Thank you all for tuning in to the Empowered Up podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. For those who are watching on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep an eye out for the next episode featuring another member of the Trinity Hall community. Thank you so much for listening.